Well, hello YouTube. It has been a long time. Today is October 2nd, 2025, and that means it's been nearly a year since I've put together a video for La Exma. It's interesting how time flies. It has been a very busy year for me. A lot has changed. So, I don't know exactly where to begin. I suppose first really big thing of note was in January, my folks were in a really awful car accident. They were going to the dentist and making a left turn, and they had a green arrow, and a woman in a brand new SUV ran a red light, T-boned them, and broke my mom's neck. Fortunately, she's okay now. She wasn't paralyzed or anything, but she was in that neck brace for a number of months. My dad seems to have been okay, from a few scrapes and bruises. The car's wrecked, totaled, gone. That was the 1996 Mercedes E300 diesel that I give credit for saving my mom's life. As old as it is, it still had side curtain airbags, and yeah, it took a hell of a beating, but definitely saved both my folks. Did its job. It has certainly cemented my belief that I would rather be in a Mercedes-Benz now than any other vehicle from a safety standpoint. Not long after that, within a few days, I was let go from my job. Just wasn't enough business. And in a lot of ways, that was really a blessing in disguise, because I needed to be home to help take care of my mom, especially in those first few months. She's in rehab still, trying to get better, slowly but surely. A lot of the psychological trauma that she has from this is pretty bad. She has a really hard time getting in a car, and she is completely on edge anytime she's in a car. I feel really awful for her. The woman that hit my folks has been dragging this out in the courts. Continuation after continuation after continuation. Her trial is now set for sometime in December. In the meantime, there is no dash cam footage from anyone, and the woman that hit my folks folks got the ticket, and she's pleading not guilty. So we're stuck in a state of limbo where nothing is really happening. Lawyers can't do anything until she's convicted or pleads guilty. The insurance companies won't talk. And yeah, that's where that all stands. I'm just glad that they both survived. I forget the car. I don't care about the car. The car's replaceable. They're not. Thanks to my former boss and friend who I worked with at the car shop, was able to replace the car for a really good price. We ended up with a 1999 Mercedes E320 station wagon. And it has been a very good vehicle so far, with the exception of two or three minor hiccups that I ran into with it when I first got it. And we had a hose clamp break on the upper radiator hose, which left it with no coolant. I've never seen a hose clamp snap before, but stranger things have happened. That was an easy fix. Crankshaft position sensor went. Not a big deal. That's a $40 part. And the fuel pump went out. But fortunately on those, that is a very easy repair. I was able to get a new pump and a new filter set up for, I think, maybe $60, and put those in, and took maybe half an hour to do the job, and the thing has been fine ever since I managed to work out those little kinks. Ironically, about a month later, in my car, the one that we're in right now, its fuel pump decided to go out. Dad and I decided to take a drive up in the mountains one night to clear my head. And didn't have any. I filled up with gas before we left. Drove up there. And then stopped to get a drink. Came back out. And my fuel pump just decided it didn't want to work anymore in my car. That was definitely shocking. Well, yeah, I was shocked. And my car fuel pump is a bigger pain to deal with than on the station wagon. I pulled out the rear seat. I kind of banged on the fuel pump access panel to try and coax it into firing up one more time, but it seriously, it just decided it was done. So I ended up having to replace that. And that is not as easy of a job on this car as it is on the station wagon or a lot lot of the older Mercedes vehicles. I've done that job on other cars, but at that time I was not in the headspace for replacing the fuel pump in this car. Without going into too much detail, I'll just say I've had a fairly stressful year. It's also been a really good year in a lot of ways, but I was in the middle of processing a lot of things that were going on at the time, and I just was not in the mental headspace to be dealing with the fuel pump on my car. So I took it to the shop where I used to work, and I had them actually do it. And I'm really glad I did, because they had me up and running the same day I dropped it off, within maybe 3 hours. I mean, I wasn't even able to pick it up as quick as they had it fixed. But one of the reasons I didn't want to deal with it was the tank was almost completely filled with gas. I filled it up right before we left town, and we drove maybe 20 miles or so up into the mountains when it died, and I'm having to have it towed home. But yeah, on these cars, when the tank is completely full, there are 2 access panels underneath the rear seat. You got to pull the bench out, and when you go and open up those access panels when it's full, gas goes everywhere, and there's no real effective way to, particularly, especially in my case, if I were doing it myself, like in my backyard, to keep that gas and to siphon it down and, to get it out of the car. And because the pump is bad, I can't just, terminate the pump and have it pump the fuel out the fuel rail and just pull that Schrader valve. That isn't an option to recapture the gas, because the pump is dead. So I just really wasn't in the mood for bathing in gasoline in my backyard and dealing with the fuel pump and the fuel filter on this thing. So kudos to my friends at StarTech for helping me get out of that bind, and for getting me taken care of so quickly and without any headaches. Started a new job before any of that happened. I've had a job within about 2.5 months of being let go from StarTech. I made the decision that I'm not going to stay in the automotive industry. Cars are my hobby. I love cars, but I'm not, it's not what I want to do all day, every day. Not for the rest of my life. And by the time I'm good enough to be a master tech, like many of the guys that I've really looked up to, I am going to be too old to be doing this job. I should say, be too old to be doing that job. So I went back into IT and tech sales because that's what I know. I've done it for a very long time before I worked on cars, and I'm really loving what I'm doing now. And I'm really successful at what I'm doing right now. And I gotta say, I'm a lot happier not being in a shop all day long every day where, there's not really climate control and you're always getting, filthy. I have so much respect for the automotive technicians of the world and the people who work with their hands all day long every day. But those things, for me, are something I much rather do on my own time, my own pace. On my own things. And working on cars for 3 years as my job definitely hurt my drive for wanting to tinker with my own cars. I've been thinking about maybe trying to find another old Mopar of some kind. Yeah, I briefly had that truck. Unfortunately, it didn't really work out. It needed more than I was willing to put into it. And one of the nice things about being in Colorado is that you don't have the rust issues that you have in the Midwest. So it's reasonably easy to get your hands on a car that is in decent, physical shape, at least as far as, not having a ton of rust is concerned. Problem with the old Mopars at this point is, one, they are incredibly scarce. Two, in this day and age, in 2025, prices are just exorbitant. And from what I can tell, I don't think there's any more market for old Mopars now than there was 10 or 20 years ago. but people selling things still have this mentality of everything is a gold mine. So there was an old 1985 Dodge 600 Turbo, a red one, that I had my eyes on. It was on Facebook Marketplace. I watched it, but they wanted $3,000 for the thing, and it wasn't immaculate. It's another 40-year-old Dodge. So, finding a lot of parts for those is getting ever more difficult. And they ended up changing the post saying, we need to get rid of it, make us an offer. And this is about a year ago I saw this thing and was tempted, and I reached out to them, and because it sat for 2 or 3 months, and they're like, we need to get rid of it. So I reached out to them and I offered them $500, and they're like, no, we need to get at least $2,000 out of it. And I said, well, okay, that's fine. And I prefaced the conversation with, I can make you an offer, but I'm probably too far apart on price. And they said, no, go ahead and make your offer. And I made it, and they didn't want it, so that's fine. Well, that car is back up on Facebook. It never left. And now it's been sitting on Facebook Marketplace for a year and probably close to a year and 3 months or so. And I ended up reaching back out to them recently, and I just asked, hey, do you still have that old Dodge? Do you still need to get rid of it? And they're like, yeah, we do. Gotta get rid of it. And I said, well, my offer still stands. And they're like, no, we can't take that little. I really don't think that that one of those cars is worth much money. And obviously they don't need to get rid of it, because if they did, they'd sell it. But I also recognize that we live in a different world. I don't think any of us expected that the words hindsight is 2020 could be more meaningful, but the year 2020, oh boy, did that year change everything. And hindsight really is 2020. I suppose we'll see what ends up happening in the world, but I think at the end of the day, things really have changed and gotten much, much worse in a lot of ways for a lot of people since 2020. I look around the world, and Today is such a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day outside. And it's my favorite time of year. The trees are starting to change, and it's really a nice temperature outside. It's what, about, I don't know, 75 degrees, 83 degrees if you listen to my car. But it's beautiful outside, and I'm trying to really enjoy the world and everything. You know, there are so many bright spots to this year, though. But it's conflicting because so much good has been tangled up with so much bad. Incredibly amazing friends. There's some things that are incredibly positive that have happened this year to me. But I hesitate to even talk about them because I don't want to jinx it. One person in particular that has been an incredibly bright spot in my life. Who I love with all my heart. And we've grown much closer over the last few months than I even realized was possible. But she has been struggling immensely for a long time. Struggling in ways that I would never wish on any creature. But she's so incredibly strong and so incredibly intelligent and so just sweet and caring and loving. And she's managed to pull through so much, and all I can think is how much I want to be there for her at any cost. How much I want to help make her life better and help her escape the horrible situation that she's in. This is somebody that I love with all my heart. And I can't quite articulate how much she means to me. I just know that she sees everything that's going on in the world, and she wants nothing more than to light a brush fire of kindness over the world like nothing the world's ever seen. And I can't think of anybody else who's even remotely close to the incredible person that she is. And the people that have wronged her in some of the most horrific ways that one can imagine. I really hope that there is a special place in hell for those individuals who have tortured her to the degree that they have. She does not deserve what they have put her through. Nobody does. She does not deserve the pain and the suffering that she continues to go through every day. All caused by some monsters who I don't understand how they can walk this earth. I hope one day I get to introduce you all to her. And share her vision for the world. And help spread the kindness in the world that she stands for. And make this world what it should be and not what it is. I know that this isn't my typical content. So, if you don't like what I've said, that's fine. But I thank you for hearing me out, if you've made it this far. You all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care.